ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, today we are going to start on the book of John, chapter 13.
It was almost time for the Passover feast. Jesus knew that it was time for him to leave this world and go back to the Father. He had always loved those who were his own in the world, and he loved them all the way to the end. Jesus and his followers were at the evening meal. The devil had already persuaded Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to turn against Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him power over everything and that he had come from God and was going back to God. So during the meal, Jesus stood up and he took off his outer clothing. Taking a towel, he wrapped it around his waist. Then he poured water into a bowl and began to wash his followers' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Jesus came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus answered, "You don't understand now what I am doing, but you will understand later." And Peter said, "No, you will never wash my feet." And Jesus answered, "If I don't wash your feet, you are not one of my people." Simon Peter answered, "Lord, then wash not only my feet, but wash my hands and head also." Jesus said, "After a person has had a bath, his whole body is clean. He needs only to wash his feet. And you men are clean, but not all of you." Jesus knew who would turn against him, and that is why he said, "Not all of you are clean." When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and sat down again. He asked, "Do you understand what I have just done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that is what I am. If I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash each other's feet. I did this as an example, so you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, a servant is not greater than his master. A messenger is not greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, you will be happy if you do them."
Yep. I am not referring to all of you. I know those I have chosen, but this is to fulfill the scripture. He who shares my bread has lifted up his heel against me. I am telling you now before it happens, so that when it does happen, you will believe that I am he. I tell you the truth, whoever accepts anyone I send accepts me, and whoever accepts me accepts the one who sent me. After he had said this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and testified, "I tell you the truth, one of you is going to betray me." His disciples stared at one another, at a loss to know which of them he meant. One of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter motioned to this disciple and said, "Ask him which one he means." Leaning back against Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I will give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish." Then dipping the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, son of Simon. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. "What you are about to do, do it quickly," Jesus told him. But no one at the meal understood why Jesus said this to him. Since Judas had charge of the money, some thought Jesus was telling him to buy what was needed for the feast or to give something to the poor. As soon as Judas had taken the bread, he went out, and it was night.
Therefore, when he had gone out, Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him immediately. Little children, you will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, now I also say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, where are you going?" Jesus answered, "Where I go, you cannot follow me now, but you will follow later." Peter said to him, "Lord, why can I not follow you right now? I will lay down my life for you." Jesus answered, "Will you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, a rooster will not crow until you deny me 3 times.
Okay, thank you. So the chapter of the book of John, the 13th chapter of the book of John, you have 2 or 3 segments. The first one, we see this culture that Jesus is practicing, the washing of feet. And also we have the second segment where we are going to talk about Jesus predicting his the betrayal, and also the last one, we're going also to talk about the denial of Jesus. Is just predicting that he was going to be denied by Peter. So on the first section that we are going to talk about, we have several things that are in this story. Is kind of a story, an action or an event that happened. The most favorite part of mine is the culture that is being practiced by Jesus. But it's not normal. It's done in a different way. It's like twisted in the actual way it should be done. So if you look in the first verses, John is talking about the time of Passover. And if we can talk more about the Passover. Passover is a feast that commemorates God's deliverance. It was also a feast after the children of Israelites were been delivered from the slavery of the Egyptian. So most of the time, the people of Israel they celebrate this commemoration for God's deliverance from the Egyptian bondage by pouring out His wrath out of the people of Israel by stringing of blood on their doorfoot. So it was like the angel of death was, if he could see the blood on top of on their doors, it would just pass over. So that's where the name comes from, the Passover. And also we see that the Passover evening in our daily culture, if it was like today, this was like March and April. And also following the Gregorian calendar, this is the time frame of the Passover. And Passover in the Jewish custom, it also was also it is like the sacrifice of the Passover by the Lord who passed over their houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt when he struck the Egyptian and delivered the household. We can see that in Exodus chapter 12, verse 27. And also, if we read some of the Greek pilgrim, we can read also Exodus chapter 12, starting from verse 20 to 38. You can see that story. This is also practiced in Jerusalem. They are still doing that nowadays. So we just talked about the Passover, and also it is said in the book of John in this chapter that it was now time for the Passover. But most of the dinners, most of this celebration in the New Testament period, it was done during the night. So they would celebrate that as a dinner, like at night. That the reason we might not know, but I feel like during dinner time, that's where people would have enough time to relax and to talk and to have more time than the daytime. And so passing over that, we are going also to talk about the washing of the feet. And this culture is also practiced and also was also practiced in the ancient Near East. And we have also the Roman Empire. They adopted this from the Greek people, and also the Jewish. It was also a Jewish culture. Some might ask why, and what is the reason for doing this practice? Why were they doing this practice? First, it was as a purpose of hygiene. It is said in the ancient Near East, and also the way they were not having like closed shoes like what I am having. Most of their shoes were like sandals, and it was like open shoes. So when they travel a long distance and they reach to their destination, the first thing that was supposed to be done is to clean their feet so that they can get inside while they're clean. And also, it was also a way of hospitality, just to welcome visitors, to show them that you are welcome to this house. So you have to do that. And in Africa, this culture is also still practiced, especially in Malawi. But in Malawi now, they give you a bucket and you have to wash the whole body. So it's a sign of just welcoming you, not to say you are dirty, but just say we have to welcome you. You have to refresh.
So does someone do that for you, or you have to do that yourself?
You have to do yourself. That's the difference now. But yeah, but also there are also some cultures where they wash their hands. Some they wash their hands, but the bottom line is a sign of showing hospitality and just welcoming someone. And but in Zimbabwe, we normally don't do this kind of culture. We just wash hands when it comes to dinner, but it's just like hygiene and all this stuff. And also, in some of the cultures, like the Jewish culture, it was a sign that shows honor and respect. And someone might ask you, like Steve, if asked, who were doing this, do you have to do this yourself? In Malawi, you have to do it yourself. They just give you a bucket of water and you go and take a bath. That's all. But in the ancient Near East, it was done. Maybe a woman slave to her master, and also wives to their husband, and also children children to their wives, to their parents, or especially to their fathers. Children also were doing this just to respect and honor their fathers, and also grandkids to their grandfathers. So that's how this culture is. So now we are seeing Jesus doing the same in the book, in chapter 13. But now, what is different now is Jesus just in this scenario. It is twisted. It was supposed to be someone doing that for Jesus, maybe one of the disciples, or one of the ladies maybe who was supposed to be there, because during those times they have like servants and people who would do all those chores. So to Peter, I think when you look in verse 8 of chapter 13, Peter say no. In Zimbabwe, to say no means Iowa. So he said Iowa as Iowa State. So wherever you see where there is no, you just say Iowa. So he said Iowa. It just means no, you don't have to do this, because in his mind he understands that he was the one who was supposed to do that to his master. So in this scenario, it's like twisted, and Jesus did this in a way which was not like acceptable in their culture. Yeah. So if we can also see there's this, we can see how Judas is also being talked about in this chapter a lot. Though in previous, if you can see in the previous chapters, Judas is also talking about, hey, why don't we give this perfume that you are giving? If we look into other chapters where Jesus was being anointed by a woman, the oil and perfume was put on his feet, but Judas just said, no, why don't we just sell this perfume and give to the poor? So on this chapter, we also see Judas. He didn't say much. He didn't say anything, but John is talking about him a lot. And in this phase, from verse 1 to verse 17, we hear that the Lord, we hear that the devil has entered Judas' heart. And also, Jesus knew that there was someone who is going to be betraying him among them. But the funnest part, or the good part of it that I really love about the conversation between Jesus and Peter, if you look in verse 10, we see Peter is denying, like, I don't want you to wash my feet, but Jesus saying, if you deny me doing this, you have no part in me. And then he said, okay, if that's the case, then wash the whole body. So, but Jesus said, those who have a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body, when they do so, their whole body is clean. And when you are clean, though not everyone of you. I want us to read again that statement. Say, and you are clean, which means Jesus saying, you don't have to wash the whole body. I just need to wash only your feet. And if I just wash your feet only, it means you are clean. But he said, even if you are clean, amongst you there is someone who is not clean. And he was talking about Judas. So sometimes when I was reading this, I was feeling like sorry for Judas. Sorry, man, this is it. But the other character that I'm seeing about Jesus Christ is Jesus is a prophet, and he knows what was going to take place in the future. And also this saying also, it talks about, it brings us to salvation. It brings us to like steps, the steps of into salvation, that we have to hear the word and believe and be live as Christ like. So if we proceed with the verse, we see Jesus Christ is also advising them that as you have seen me doing this, you also have to do to others. You also have to practice this to others. He was not talking about washing of feet, because if we look into all the apostles or all his disciples who were present in this at this time, they didn't even practice washing of feet. They didn't even practice this this culture. Even if they have practiced that culture, but it's not written, we don't know. They might have practiced, but it's not written. So we might give them the benefit of doubt and say, okay, maybe they've practiced, but we rely on what we have read. None of them have practiced this culture of washing of feet. And also he said, do this as an example. And also he said, a servant is not greater than his master. What he's talking about is talking about humility. He's talking about humbling ourselves as people of God, as the Christian community. And he also talks about him being a teacher. He said, you can call me teacher and the Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also wash one another. Be it amongst themselves, be it when they spread the news. Because if you look in the first churches, we see most of them, they scattered out and spread the news, and they were also doing a wonderful job. Then on our second phase, here comes the issue of Jesus predicting his betrayal. So we have two people in the picture here, Judas and Peter, and Jesus being the third character. And as if we can see here, Peter is in verse 18 to 30, we see Judas. So I was talking about Peter. I like Peter's character a lot. In this, we talk about, he's talking about Judas. And I like in the verse 27, where after Jesus has been talking about a lot of things, Simon Peter questioned Jesus about who is this Lord? And he said, who can do this? Because we all know that we love you. They didn't know that one of them have been visited by the devil. They said, we all love you. Who can do this evil to you, Lord? And Jesus said, the one that I'm having a meal with is going to betray me. And all of a sudden, it said, as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. I don't know how many times the devil needs to enter into someone. I had this question when I was reading, like this. If you look chapter 13, verse 2, it says the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simeon. Maybe we can talk about the word prompted and ended. If you look verse 2 and verse 27. And if we look into this verse 27, as Steve was saying, it says, Jesus said this statement, what you're about to do it quickly. I don't know what does that mean to you and me. What you are thinking right now, do it quickly. If you are thinking of going outside, do it quickly. If you are thinking of doing this, do it quickly. Jesus is saying to Judas, but it seems like Judas was very silent about that. But in some of the Gospels, we see Judas in the same thing. He's saying something. He's talking, he's saying, is it me, Lord? Is it me, Lord? He's asking, and Jesus said, yes, you have said so. So these are like some of the Gospel books that also comment and talks about this event about Judas. And Jesus said, if you have something in mind, don't hesitate, do it quickly. You can do whatever you want. And but it said no one have understood what Jesus was talking about. They didn't even know. They had no clue. And I think it was also during this time where they have feast and they have dinner, because we are also hearing about the bread, Judas taking the bread, and after taking that, he went away. And Jesus knew that his time was near. So although we can hear in verse in this verse where it says Jesus was disturbed, he was also troubled about in his spirit. That's why he said, very, very, I tell you, one of you is going to betray me. He knew that there is one who is going to betray him amongst the disciples. And that's also, his spirit was also disturbed. But the good part of it is just he knew that his time was near. He knew that what he was sent for, his mission was about to end on this earth, and he's going to start another mission while he is in heaven. So he pretty knew and understand that his time is near. And also, being a prophet and being the word, in the first chapter of John, Jesus Christ is being portrayed as a word. And it said he was there in the beginning, and he was also there during the first creation. So he even knew about the writings of the prophets and all the stuff. And also, whenever the scriptures have been inspired, he was all among us, those who inspired the scriptures. So he pretty knew about the scriptures. Even if we look into Matthew chapter 4, we see him talking about scriptures. Even in most of his teachings and sayings, he gives reference to the Old Testament prophets. So he knew that everything that is going to happen has been prophesied and it is going to be fulfilled. So that's what we can learn from this second topic about Jesus predicting his betrayal. And also we have from verse 31 to 38, there is Jesus being denied, predicting his denial by Peter. But at first he talks about his glorification. And he's talking about his sonship to God. He's talking about the authority and the exaltation that he is, and that is going to be exalted, is going to be glorified. And also he talks about, I don't know what version you have, if in verse 33 he talks about my children. I don't know what does he mean when he said, my children, I will be with you only a little time. You will look for me, and just as I told you, as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I'm going you cannot come to. So can anyone tell us what he's talking about if he's saying my children? Was he only talking about those who were surrounding him, or was talking about? Yeah. And also, if you can remember, in some of his saying, when he's told that your mother and your brothers, they are looking for you, and he said, no, my brothers and sisters and my parents are those that are here, who are listening to me. So by having the crowd, and also we have to bear in mind that Jesus didn't just have 12 disciples. These were just named. Those were just close people. He had more than 12 people. But if we teach, 12 disciples, but there were more than 12 disciples that he have. There were a lot of people who were doing great job. We have also women who were also working with Jesus and helping him and all the stuff. So, yeah. And also talking, also agreeing on that, Jesus, by saying to Judas, what you're about to do it quickly. To me, it seems like Jesus is saying, why are you delaying? No, we have been talking since I've been washed your feet and everything, but still the devil is with you. Do it quickly. Don't hesitate. Do it quickly. And also, as we continue, there is this other thing, that Jesus talked about, and he always talked about this several times in his Gospels. Even in the book of John, he talks about loving one another. Then he said in verse 34, a new command I give you, love one another as I love you. So you must love one another. By this everyone knows and will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. But before that, he was talking about his ascension, his like going to heaven, and he said, I tell the Jews, so I tell you, where I'm going, you cannot come. But after that, he talks about love and said, love one another. This is now, it's like a farewell speech that is giving, saying, okay, now I'm going where you cannot come, where you cannot follow me, but I'm leaving this to you. Love one another as I love you. By so doing, the world will know that you are mine. The world will know that you are my disciples. The world will know that you are my followers. Yeah. And what I like most is talking to those who are surrounding him. He's not talking he's not saying this to everyone. Like, he's saying those who are surrounding you, you have to love one another. You who are among me, who know me, who are my children, you have to love one another. Start by loving one another first, before that love flows wherever you want it to be. Before you go out to the world and show love, first try to love one another amongst you. Yeah, okay. Then verse 36, this, Peter is, to me, is someone who always interject, who always come in and ask questions and try to to make himself the smartest guy amongst the group. He asks smart questions and all the stuff. Sometimes I remember Jesus saying, "No, be behind you, Satan." He always is the guy who's like confident. He likes to talk and ask while Jesus is teaching. And he said, "Lord, where are you going?" Where are you going? And Jesus said, where I'm going, you cannot follow me, but you will follow later. Where I'm going, you cannot follow me, but follow later. I've heard some of funeral sermons being preached out of this verse. Where I'm going, you cannot follow me, but you will follow later. So I don't know, what do you think about the statement, the reply of Jesus to Peter? Say, where are you going? Was Peter really sure? Was he not sure about where Jesus was going? Was he not really sure? Or he was confused about what Jesus was saying, how he was saying all these things? Because they thought they are going to be with Jesus all along, like 30 years, and they're going to be famous people, seeing the crowd following you, and you have the master, and
I think
and also we can also proceed in verse 37. Peter asked Jesus and said, "Lord, why can't I follow now? I'm ready to lay my life for you." And Jesus answered and said, "You will really lay down your life for me?" He's asking, "Are you going to do that? Really? Are you serious?" And Peter was so confident in his answering of questions. And then Jesus said, "Verily, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Yeah. If it was me, Peter, hearing that, I'll be like, what? What are you saying? I've been with you all this time. No. If you look into the scriptures in the second phase, you hear that Peter was also laying on Jesus, saying, "Okay, Jesus, who is it, me?" Like, but here he said, "You are going to betray me." Just see all those, that closeness that he was with Jesus, and all of a sudden, the same person is losing trust over him and said, "No way, even if you say so, but along the way you fall, along the way you deny me." So, as we wrap up and as we conclude, this is how I do my Bible study. I'll give the floor to people just to give insight and what we have learned. And if you have anything that you feel like we need to do as a Christian community, as the church. If you feel like you are challenged, we are free to say. But also, I have some of the points that I thought might help us as a Christian community, as the church, that we might have learned from the chapter. The first thing that I've learned about the chapter is Jesus Christ is teaching us as a church to be a servant church, like a church which is ready to serve. I'm so excited that yesterday we go out and do the outreach thing. Just bringing ourselves down and trying to fellowship with the people, and that should not also be done outside, but even if inside, we should have also eyes to see where there is need to do servant leadership, to do all this kind of love. And also Jesus Christ, if we see in the first phase that we have talked about when he washed his disciples, in the last verses of that phase, he talks about being exemplary. We like do this also amongst yourself, and also we have to wash each other's feet and also be exemplary. And this also relates to some of the scriptures that Jesus was talking about. If you look into the book of Matthew, he said, if you want to be great, be small. If you want to be someone who is great, if you want to lead, be the smallest. He gives an example of kids, of children. Say, if you want to be a leader, be like these ones. So we have to be exemplary, and also to be hospitable. A church should be hospitable. A church should be very accompanied by people who are very humble. And also, we have to pray that as we are doing what we are doing as a church, we have to see the difference. Like I've seen the issue of devil entering into Judas, several times. I don't know what's your thought about that, but I have a feeling that there are some times that even if we are Christians, sometimes the devil can enter into us in different ways, and this is we can also, if you look into Galatians chapter 5, it talks about having fruits of the Spirit. We can fight that by having good fruits of the Spirit. Yeah, I remember receiving visitors like the cruise. Yeah, my first time, it was 2018 when I got the job from the mission, and your team was my first team to host, and was like hearing like your occupation and being in mind about America, seeing all this good stuff about America. And I was saying, oh, God, so all these people, they've traveled from America, where there's everything, a land of plenty, and they have, seeing you coming down and you just sit down on the dust and playing with kids. I was like, what is this? Just bringing yourself down, and and not just you only, but we have also some visitors who are like doctors, and in Zimbabwe we highly respect the occupation professions, because if you have a degree and a diploma and like we are learned, and in our culture you think you have to be someone who is above everyone. So to me, I wasn't like, no, these people, they come from a well-developed country. That's number one. Number two, they have good occupation. Why are they taking themselves down like this? So I was like kind of confused. But now when I read the Bible and understand how Jesus Christ was doing it and how we should do as a church, I feel like, yeah, this is it. So I don't know if just a question. We have to just maybe comment on the issue of love amongst ourselves. we've talked about Jesus talking, he was emphasizing on love amongst the disciples who were there. Like, you have to do this amongst yourself, to each other. Are we doing our best as a church, not outside, as a church, to keep that fellowship? If we are doing that, how best can we maintain that? How best can we keep on doing that as the church? Are we still having this oneness? Are we still having one love? Are we still... I'm just asking, if I'll just maybe a minute commenting on that. How is the church doing? I know in Africa and Zimbabwe, we have a lot of like fellowships, and sometimes we show that kind of love when it comes to funerals and when it comes to weddings and gatherings, you know. And when we feel like someone is not feeling well, we go there, we do some prayers and all the stuff. I don't know how does the church doing that? You know, I know you do mission works, sometimes we do like outreach, and maybe we might put more effort into that, and also forgetting about how to maintain the church community, like as a church. It's not the elders' duty or the pastor's duty also, but we as a congregation, how best are we doing that? Or if we are not doing that, how best can we manage to maintain love and unity and servant leadership amongst ourselves?